Hey everyone, you guys quite like my last tier list video on the loneliness of different photographers. So in this one, I figured we'll rank the different jobs I've had, the different clients that I've had as a photographer throughout my 10-year career. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Sergio and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC, and we'll be doing something a little bit silly today. We're just having some fun. These jobs that I feel like in the moment, they always feel pretty good, but it's not until you start to compare and look back that you're like, oh yeah, hindsight's 2020. So before we get too deep, we'll be sipping today on some Phillips lager, a tilt lager. It's gonna be a much lighter beer than, well, granted, last video was a sour, which is not a very strong beer anyway, but I got so weirdly tipsy like halfway through that beer, which I'm not a big person to begin with, so I'm not exactly a heavyweight, but it was kind of funny to see, especially when I was editing, when I was going back through it, and I was like, man, my eyes are getting glossier and glossier by the minute. It was quite funny. But yeah, local beer, great little Victoria powerhouse. Phillips is great. Phillips the man. Just a classic lager, nothing too crazy. Now, the actual tier list that we'll be going through, ranking the different clients. Good job, good pay, good people, that's going to be S tier. 2 out of 3 ain't bad is A tier. 1 out of 3 is pretty bad, that would be B tier. Probably shouldn't have done this would be D tier, and definitely shouldn't have done this is F tier. So, very first client that I've got pulled up over here is gonna be a little Gary, guys from Take to the Grave. I've had a few different comments from people on this channel asking for the different like tattoo gear, sometimes the hoodies that I'm wearing or the stuff that's in the background, the skateboard that's in my main shot. All of that stuff is from Take to the Grave. It's made by these guys out in Nova Scotia. Alex is the main like drawer guy who does all the designs. He happens to do the vast majority of my tattoos, so we're good friends, and we get to do some really cool stuff together. They ask me sometimes to shoot some really cool projects. Most recently was we did like a Black Friday ad where we pretended to get we did a tattoo on someone, but we pretended to write Black Friday sale on it to just try to piss off TikTok, so to speak. Work with your friends. They will take care of you and give you fun projects to work with. That to me is an S tier client. All right, so next up we've got Propface. Propface was a distributor that reached out to me very early on in my YouTube, Instagram, I believe, and they just were doing a call out for photographers, and they wanted to do some collaborations with different people like me. And they were like, we'll send you some stuff. You take the photos, we'll use your photos, everyone will be happy. However, they were like, here's a bunch of the list of the things that we can give you, pick your favorite. And I chose a few things and they sent me none of those things. And now I felt like I was just working for another company so that they could sell their products and not pay me any money. They're supposed to pay me in props, and they were props that I don't even want in the first place. I don't want to be like poo-pooing on too many of these companies, but this to me feels okay because they went out of business a few years ago. The only way I found out is because they kept sending me an email being like, oh yeah, we'll send you out a box. I don't know why it didn't reach out yet. And then I would email them back, be like, hey, what's going on? Did you guys send me the new thing? Oh yeah, sorry, I think your address got lost in miscommunication. We'll have a problem with UPS. We'll get it sorted. Months went by and it was like, hey, we got something. And now it's just no more replies. And that was like 2 years ago. So they've basically just ghosted people that they used to work with, and you do a little bit of a deep dive, you realize they're no longer in business. So, Propface, they're going to get an F class. F tier is a tier? Yeah, F tier from me. Next up, we've got The Shop. You might have heard me talk about these people before. You might have seen a lot of the B-roll from shoots with them. I've been creating a lot of their content for the last like 3 or 4 years. They're these interior designers in town that also have a storefront where they sell like decor and stuff. Great client. Super easy, very reliable, very consistent. As a freelance operator, that is like a dream level client where it's like you can almost guarantee shoots every month for like it's been, like I said, it's been almost 4 years, and they've been gracious to me. They've put me in rooms that I would have never otherwise been in. I'm very grateful for them. However, good job, good pay, good people. Good people, definitely. I will absolutely say that 100%. If you consider how consistent it is, yeah, it's pretty good pay. It's my year-over-year biggest client. As a freelancer, that's kind of what you want. That's what's actually important. Good job, however, sure. I mean, look, I love getting to shoot, and I'm not going to be complaining about not having, or about getting to shoot for a living. Like, this is a silly Saturday night tier list video where I'm having a beer. Like, let's have some fun here. But these people, yeah, they make me shoot things that they want, and I am basically just a button pusher with the fancy equipment who happens to be the luckiest person in town to have that job. I have no say in the final images. It's not exactly my level of S tier. We're going to knock them down to A. All right, so next we've got probably the second most recognizable name, I would say, probably Uber Eats. Well, we just said 2 out of 3 ain't bad because they are doing good pay and they're good people to work with. Whereas with Uber, as much as the agency and the people that I deal with at Uber are not fun to deal with and they're constantly changing their terms and they're like a nightmare. Like they treat me like a number more than a person. The people that I meet at all the restaurants that I go shoot with are wonderful. So I'll give that, you know what, that'll score it an extra point. However, the job itself is very, very strict. They tell me the angle, they tell me the lens, they tell me the lighting, they tell me everything to do. I have some leeway in like the backgrounds, but God forbid I throw any shadows or anything in there that's like somewhat creative, or I try to change the angle by 20 degrees and it's like, oh, you can't. You know, there's just so many different little things and loopholes and things to jump through. And it's one of those clients to me that makes it feel like a job. And that's not why I started this job. I didn't want it to feel like work. Oh, poo-poo, right? Womp womp. But yeah, no, just not my favorite client when I'm comparing all of the clients. Individually, yeah, all these people are paying me to take pictures for them. That's like the dream to begin with. So like, let's not lose ourselves here. However, yeah, this stuff with Uber is very much like, to me, feels like a job. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 3. Not bad, but not exactly great. Extended wear laces. This is the buddy Christian Flores. If any of you watch like skateboarding YouTube at all, you might have seen some of his shoe reviews over the years. I was a big fan of this guy. Or I still am a big fan. Whatever he ends up doing with his channel. Yeah, we worked together. I did this for free. So this was not at all, he wanted to pay me. It's nothing to do with him. He's like, what do you want to charge? And I'm like, dude, you've been giving me free videos for a decade. I'm happy to do what I can do best, which is take photos. Let me see what I can do for you. If you can use them, you can use them. Great. So he definitely falls under good people, good pay. Let's just say good pay because he would have paid me if I asked for it. I'm not necessarily good at business all the time, so maybe that was on me. Good job. I mean, it would have been in that, like, there was no brief outlines or prerequisites, or it wasn't like you have to shoot it this way, and I'm so unhappy with what you gave me. Please revise, please revise, please revise, which has happened with some clients, but I have not included them in this list because I've had some, like, bad stuff with bad clients, and I don't need to, like, drag them in this video. This is meant to be fun and lighthearted, so like nothing I say about any of these people are like these are all like my friends. These are all people I love and enjoy, so like except for maybe Prop Face, but I don't know those people anyway, so like but everyone else is like people that I genuinely enjoy, so like, you know, take everything I say with a grain of salt. We're just having fun here. So Christian, definitely good people, good pay, and maybe the good job is just bad on me. I just feel like I didn't deliver on the shots. I don't know. It was like my first shoot at the new studio, and I don't know. Sometimes you just don't nail it. Sometimes you just miss the mark. So I'm sorry about that, Chris. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Next up, we've got Last Second Dropout, or Hollow River, back when I was shooting with you guys. Such a cool project. I've worked with Mark like many, many times, but such a cool project. We went and shot at this like little retreat here in BC, multi-acre yardage where you just kind of come or away from like the hustle and bustle of the city. You come in nature, you write music in the middle of nowhere, very Rick Rubin vibe kind of thing, like a Canadian version of it. Yeah, I feel so blessed to have experienced that world. Like I felt like I'm such a outsider, I guess, you know, like I feel like I didn't belong there, and it was really neat to be part of that whole experience. So thank you guys for that. Good job, good pay, good people. Yeah, I'll put them under all 3. The day rate was definitely lower than my commercial day rate, but for hanging out with some homies in like the nicest place in BC, I'll give it to you guys. Good job. Yeah, I've been really enjoying this lifestyle stuff a little bit more. I think I was I'm very self-conscious, I guess, or I used to be a lot more self-conscious than I am now, and I was stuck in my own head and I had a hard time talking with people. The idea of shooting lifestyle and trying to just communicate with people and talk to them was the last thing I wanted to do. I don't know, lately I've just been wanting to shoot more and more of it, so I guess we'll see what comes of that if you're still following my channel in the next 6 months to a year or something. I don't know. I want to shoot more lifestyle. We'll see. We'll try to probably introduce a little bit more of like randomness in the rigidity of my shoots. LSD, let's just rank you guys right up to S, because just a great experience that I will literally remember for my entire life. So thank you, and on to the next one. And next up, we've got Loewen. So Brown Boy Bakes over here. He's just an amazing little kid. This kid's, back at least when we were shooting together, he's 16 years old. And Loewen, if you're watching this, sorry if I'm calling you a kid. I hated being called a kid when I was 16. I'm just saying that because if I had half of his drive and just passion in what it is that he does right now already at his age, any of us, we would all be like the next Michael Phelps, of whatever industry that we were in. It's a real gift to see someone so young and so passionate and so driven. And I'm very fortunate to be, again, just part of your experience. The dough is made from scratch. The sauce is made from scratch. The only like level up would be maybe like if you're growing the tomatoes in your backyard. He's doing something right. So good job, good pay, good people, and like just incredible lunch and dinner that they gave me when I left the shoot. Some pizza, some cookies. Like, thanks, guys. S tier for Loewen and the family. All right, so next up we've got J&C Wheels. This was through my buddy in Montreal at Auto Aesthetics. This was a calendar shoot that we did in LA for this LA brand, this like wheel company. This didn't go as planned. I was definitely too early in my career. I didn't know what I was actually booking. I didn't know the scope of what I was like taking on. It was like 55 different wheel types, and they each had like between 2 and 10 different colors each. There was a lot of stuff to shoot, and I was nowhere near prepared. I went with like my girlfriend at the time and him, like my buddy from the car shop, and yeah, no, that didn't turn out really well. I tried to ask for a lot of money because I was like, oh, this is like a big deal. This is like, I'm flying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing the other. I just didn't deliver. So I apologize for missing the mark on that shoot, maybe almost like 10 years ago at this point, 8 years ago maybe at this point. That was not so bueno. Even though for me it was like the biggest step, it was like, whoa, man, I'm going international, I'm flying to a different country. And even though like the client is technically Canadian, like I was, shooting in a different country. I was doing something like a big deal, and I was like, whoa, cool, fancy. Way too early for me. So I'm going to go with probably should avoid. Having the hindsight of 2020, I definitely wasn't ready for that one. Moving on, we've got Lanyards. Lanyards is great. Lanyards is a company here in Vancouver. They do longboards, and this was a really fun shoot. They invited me over to their warehouse, and then they were basically just like, here, we're going to give you a couple things. We're going to ship you a couple things. Go meet up with one of our team riders and take some photos, and whatever you get, you get. Young Sergio, just starting to get my foot in the commercial world, Sergio. Seeing a brand like that, I was like super stoked. I was like, hey, I used to buy your stuff, and now you're giving it to me for free. This is incredible. This is like a dream come true. This is me having a camera, and I look at all this access that I get just, again, because I know how to take a picture. Good job? Yeah, I have a hard time with these jobs that just don't give me any leeway, or give me all the leeway, or no bumpers, like they just tell me to do whatever it is that I want. Because the thing is, like, when you tell me do what I want, I don't know what you see. When you like something of mine, I don't know what it is that you like of mine. And that's the same with any photographer. So any client who's always like, oh, do whatever it is that you want, you're like, okay, what is it that you actually like? Tell me those things that you like, and I can do those things. Because I do a lot of different things, and you're not going to like all of it. So just tell me what you like, so I know for sure that you're going to like the stuff that I deliver to you. I think we did like maybe 20 assets or something, and I think they used like 3 or 4 of them. So again, it looks like I missed the mark, but usually I think a lot of the times it falls down to like, in business and in love, a lot of the times when it doesn't work out, it's usually just poor communication. So we're going to go with mediumly good job. It was definitely a bad pay, but really good people. So we're going to go with a B tier. We're going to go B tier, but we're going to put you above. We're going to put you above Uber because you're definitely still better than Uber. All right, next up we've got Ryzen. So again, this was affiliate through a local like home building company here in Victoria. They basically ordered some new trucks, some new electric trucks. The first Canadian electric dump truck delivered here on the island, and I got to shoot it, which is pretty cool. And the company Ryzen ended up using it on some of their advertising. When my work gets used by the biggest names or by the biggest brands or by the biggest, like the most recognizable times that my work gets used, it's usually by accident or by happenstance or by, like for that shoot, I basically got a call the day before, and it was like, hey, we need a photographer, ours like crapped out, can you just do this thing for us, blah, 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 blah. I know it's out of your realm, or it's a different client for you, and blah, blah, blah. But it was just like, it was like, okay, sure, let's make it work. And then I didn't know that my images were actually going to get used by this brand until a little bit later, which is usually kind of a nightmare, but I was happy with it. It's okay. More people seeing my stuff is always a good thing. This was just one of those really lucky situations, but definitely not a good pay situation when you consider it being that actual client who just kind of piggybacked off a secondary client. You're going to get that a lot in your photography where it's, it's like which fights are worth fighting. You're not allowed to use these images past 13 months because licensing was only for 12 months, or like there's a lot of like little things like that where it's like, yeah, sure, sometimes it's worth your effort, but a lot of the times it's like, you know what, you're happy with my images, I'm stoked that you're stoked, let's just continue being happy. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a little bit of what happened here with these guys. It was a good job, it was great people, pay was so-so. Again, we're gonna, you know what, actually we'll put you up into no, we'll leave you in B. Next up, we've got Moroni Films. If you live in Montreal, even Ottawa or Toronto, and you've considered getting married, you've probably heard of Moroni Films. You've probably heard of Rick and his team. Weddings to full-scale commercial shoots, luxury villas. They do a lot of different stuff, but they're a video production firm back in Montreal. They were my first like photography-related job, I guess. They were more of a job than they were a client. Like I was never shooting. I guess they used my images for some of the weddings, but for the most part, like I was like I turned in like a job. You know, would show up, get paid hourly, give them. They would basically give me cards, cameras, and like a name of the bride and groom. Like sometimes I was just carrying light stands, but if I was like shooting, it was basically like, okay, you're gonna be meeting Maria and John at this church, and we're going to be going to this place for love shoot and etc. But basically, like I didn't know anything about anyone until I showed up there, which is the only way I want to book and shoot weddings now. They basically spoiled me in booking weddings, and that like I never had to deal with bridezillas. I never had to deal with actually scheduling or finding halls or like any kind of like back and forth with moms or clients or things like that, because it was basically just, yeah, here are the cards, here are the cameras. At the end of the day, give us the cards. Ciao. You know, I'll never see you again. That was primo. And especially with how early on in my career that was, I don't think I realized how valuable well, I did realize how valuable it was because I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I was constantly asking Rick questions. I would often ask him, like, you know, like just because he was the only full-time photographer that I knew. And he had a team of wedding shooters, and they would shoot like 50 weddings a year, and they were fully booked all the time. And it was just like so impressive to, you know, 23-year-old me. Like, how do you have a mortgage and kids when you know that they're going to need you in 10 years from now, but you don't know if you're going to be making money in 10 years from now? And that's always been something that baffled me, at least early on, and even still today, but obviously I'm a little bit more, it's a little bit chiller now. Rick, thank you so much for the experience. Great job, great pay, great people. If you can find yourself a job that's consistent, that's with people that you enjoy. People don't quit their job, they quit their management. So if you are happy with who you're working for, that's a good thing. And as a freelancer, as someone with a camera in their hands, that's a little bit of consistency in your life is like the gold standard. So Moroni, Rick, you're getting an S tier. The very last, I know you guys have been peeping this. Some of you maybe even just skipped to the end of the video just to see what I had to say about Walmart. I used to shoot the portraits for the families that signed up to Walmart here in Victoria. That was the first job that I got after my delivery job. Like if you watch the video here, I talk about like when I was a delivery driver and I wanted something more out of my life, and I found this job as a photographer for Walmart. And it sucked. It was not at all what I wanted it to be. And as excited as I was when I got the job, after like the first family, I was like, oh, this definitely is not what I was expecting. There just wasn't any respect for me or for my time or for the craft. And the pay was beyond abysmal. Like just knowing how much the families were paying for their photo shoots meant that like by the time I made any money, before everyone else makes their money, before Walmart makes their money, before everyone else makes their money, I knew I wasn't going to make much, especially after the taxes and all that. And it was like, oh, this is super not worth it, even if there's like 10 families in a day, and there wasn't. So it was like, an hour of driving or going somewhere, taking the bus to go somewhere, and then meeting a family for 15 minutes, getting paid $8, and then coming back home, and then like barely making enough money to pay for the bus that took me there. It was just not like, I realized like, oh, it's cool, I'm working for Walmart, but this isn't doing the commercial advertising for Walmart. This is basically doing the you just picked up a camera for the first time. You could be shooting this with a phone. We really don't care. Just take these pictures because they hired someone and we told them that we'd have someone. They really didn't care about the quality or what it is that I was doing or bringing to the table, even though I had already been shooting for this was like 2021, so like 7 or 8 years maybe at the time. So that's definitely not good job, and it was terrible pay. And the families might have been nice sometimes, but a lot of them just would no-show on me or would like ghost me after they just didn't feel like checking in, or they had the family member that was sick or something, and they would never like contact and be like, oh, by the way, we're not going to show up, and then you show up, and then they don't show up, and then you don't get paid, and then it's anyway. Just because it's a big brand name doesn't mean they're going to pay you the big brand bucks. Just keep that in mind, and we'll put Walmart down in the F tier. Thanks for watching. This was silly. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you're new here. There's going to be more of this, but this is not a consistent thing by all means. But videos are. Videos are consistent. I'll see you on Monday. Later.